13 things you didn't know about everyday objects. Number 1. Groovy Toothpick. Now this is kind of cool. If you happen to have a better quality toothpicks around, you can try this out the next time you're eating tiny food. The super cheap ones do not have this feature. Some nicer picks have ridges at the ends. Those little grooves are not just for decorative purposes, but they serve an ingenious function. If you snap the end off, you can set the grooved part on the table, and now you have a perfect little prop stand for your dirty toothpick. This keeps you from placing your toothpick directly on a table surface and keeps your pick from rolling away. It's a clever little feature and worth spending a few extra cents. Bon appetit! Number 2. Chinese takeout containers. I heard this once but totally forgot about it. It's a pretty cool feature and would come in handy on those Chinese takeout days when you don't want to do dishes. Those cool takeout boxes, with so many folds in their sides, actually have a purpose, besides holding the General and garlic chicken stir-fry. You can unfold the boxes and they open into little plates. It doesn't work with the smaller containers, but they act as a nice bowl and are easy access. Just grab chopsticks and fortune cookies and head to the park for lunch. And hey, you only need the plate feature if you're willing to share. Wishing you good fortunes in those cookies, and not just lottery numbers. Number 3. European Ring Shank. Now this little feature is a gem, especially if you plan to buy a nice ring at some point. This is a creative solution to an everyday problem for people who wear rings with stone settings. Maybe you've never seen one. Maybe you have, but didn't know why the ring was not round on the bottom. The European Shank, more recently being dubbed a Euro Shank, and sometimes called a flat bottom ring, was designed mainly to stop a top-heavy ring from spinning on your finger. It's pretty annoying to wear a ring with a stone setting and have it constantly slip sideways or upside down. It becomes a habit to twist and spin the setting back up where it belongs all day long. Many wedding rings have stone settings, which make the ring top-heavy. Gravity pulls them down naturally. The Euro Shank is a brilliant solution. In addition to the cool contemporary look, it's supposed to prevent the ring from turning. It is sort of flat or squared on the bottom and has corners on each bottom side. The corners make contact with the fingers on either side of the ring, which stops it from turning too much. The Euro Shank feels a little strange at first, but is easy to get used to. Once you have one, you will likely never go back to a traditionally round ring. The good news is, many rings can be converted to this sleek and functional design. Number 4. Oven knob temperature calibrators. Supposedly, an oven knob has a calibration tool built right into it. This can come in pretty handy if you bake often or cook temperature-sensitive foods. One has to actually use the oven to care about this, but I digress. Remove the oven knob and look inside of it. There should be a pointer or something that shows you how you can set the temperature hotter or colder in 10-degree increments. Pretty cool feature. I was mildly curious, so I moseyed over to my oven to check it out, only to be abruptly reminded that my oven knobs are digital. Again, I mentioned one must actually use the oven enough to know what types of knobs it has. The range top knobs do not have the gauge on them. I checked. I'm sure there's some electronic digital way to calibrate an oven with digital touchpads. Feel free to look it up on some instruction manual if you really want to. I don't like to RTFM, meaning I am resistant to reading manuals. And since I couldn't test this feature on my own oven, I'm a little disappointed. So let's just move on. Number 5. Caps with Puncture Spike. Tired of trying to remove the tiny foils and protective covers from small tubes of medications and ointments? It turns out there's an app for that. Well, a physical app, as it were. Most manufacturers were kind enough to add a small pointed tip in the top of the lid. Just turn it over and you can easily puncture the protective film with little effort. It's pretty handy, so all the goo doesn't ooze out from squeezing the tube while wrestling with the foil. Number 6. Bobby pins. This seems to be like a hidden feature because most people do not know how bobby pins were intended to be used. Guilty as charged for using them wrong for years. Once I learned the correct way to use them, I was a much happier bobby pinner. The bobby pin was invented in 1899 and was widely used into the Roaring '20s with the uber popularity of the short bobbed hairstyles. Every flapper wanted a fashionable do, but needed a way to keep her hair in place. The bobby pin to the rescue. Most people use it with the flat side toward the scalp. but they usually slip out of place and don't hold the hair very well. They were designed to be used with the wavy side facing the scalp. That allows it to sort of lock the hair in place. Side tip, place another pin over the first pin like a crisscross action, which locks the hair in place more firmly. I love this simple invention, and the flappers could flap to their heart's desires while keeping their pin curls in place. Number 7. Color-coded ice cream handles. Here's another one I didn't know. Wow, I need to get out more. There are color-coded ice cream scoopers that measure different ounces of ice cream. They are designed so the scooper can measure a certain number of scoops to equal 32 ounces, or 1 quart. There is actually an industry standard with 6 different colors, which allows for exact portioning. Who knew? Well, besides ice cream shop owners. I, on the other hand, am an ice cream consumer. So I personally do not get the concept of smaller sized scoops for any reason. I thought the quarts of ice cream were sold so that I could just grab a spoon and dig in. Number 8. Dual action stapler plate. The dual action stapler plate mystery is solved. Kinda makes a stapler sound cool. Dual action stapler. Anyway, you may be old enough to have seen traditional staplers that have these special plates on them. You know, the ones that look like an old school emoticon that's saying ugh. He's not smiling or frowning. It's just that straight mouth, deadpan look. Well, now you'll know what it's for. Some of the newer staplers don't sport this dual plate, but it's a cool feature. Maybe I'll use it now that I know what it does. The little metal plate, or anvil, that the staples hit when we engage the stapler can be unlocked and turned around. Aw, turn that frown upside down. Sorry. After turning the anvil around and locking it into place, we can make those cool staples where the wings are pointed outward instead of inward. That makes the staples much easier to remove. Now that we know what it does, why would we do that? Seamstresses and upholstery experts might know this one. It's called pinning. People would use this feature to pin papers, cloth, or similar items together temporarily. Pinning allows us to remove the staples very easily. I wish everyone would pin their papers so I don't break things like fingernails when I'm trying to remove staples in a pinch. We should all use this pinning technique on a bunch of papers at work just to see if anyone notices. Crazy casino carpeting. Well, I thought I knew the answer to this one and it would be a no-brainer. But it turns out there are a few experts with several suggestions about why casino carpeting is so hideously ugly and painfully busy. It's long been suggested that the crazy patterns on casino floors are to basically hurt your eyes if you look at it too long. It keeps you looking up at the slots and table games. Other suggestions for it, though, are to hide stains and wear and tear. And yet another nugget is that the carpeting makes it difficult to find money and casino chips that get dropped on the floor. Apparently, many casinos sweep up several dropped chips nightly. Whatever the reason for the horrific patterns and colors on these tacky carpets, the upside is that casinos recycle them. The old filthy carpeting gets turned into carpet padding, and most new carpets are made from recycled materials. So they know you risk a headache from looking at it, but they give back by recycling. Oh, and hang on to your chips, folks. The house makes enough money at our expense. We don't need to give it away by dropping it. Number 10. Silica gel packs. This may not be an original design feature, but it's a pretty useful tip. Every time you buy something that has those silica gel packs that absorb moisture, save them. They're totally useful for putting in your packed lunches to absorb excess moisture. They're also fantastic for putting in your gym shoes or bag, or any shoes at the end of a long day. You can even stick a small one in the salt shaker if you live in a humid climate. The gel packs can freshen up and absorb moisture for several uses. They come in almost every kind of product, especially items that ship from overseas. It takes an average of 3.5 weeks for products to ship via ocean from places like China to the United States. So those gel packs are added to almost every kind of shipment that will be subjected to the damp ocean air for weeks on end. So save those bad boys and toss them in your sweaty shoes at night. Your feet and your friends will thank you. Number 11. Google Chrome hidden features and games. There are all sorts of hidden games right under our noses in Google Chrome. I might have known this if I had more free time on my hands to sit around and play on the computer. But when I found out that Atari games and so many others are right at our fingertips, forget it. Work is out the window. Atari Breakout, here I come. If anyone knows how to set the feature for Breakout to allow us to have control over the ball like the original game, let me know. There are several kinds of games for time-wasting features built right into Chrome, like Pac-Man, Snake Game, Guitar, and more. Just type in hidden games in the search bar and watch your productivity go straight down the tubes. Number 12. Microwave popcorn bag. I don't eat enough microwave popcorn to have figured this one out, but I could have used this little nugget when I was tearing through the stuff like a main course. It would have saved the pain and risk of cracking teeth. Ever bite down on those uncooked kernels and just hoped you still had your teeth intact? Well, the little hole at the top of the opening solves that hard-as-rock kernel problem. We get a twofer with this one. In addition to being a great venting hole, that small opening at the top allows you to shake out the unpopped kernels before fully opening the bag. Just be sure to allow the bag to vent first. I'd hate to hear that you burned your hand because you started shaking the bag upside down before letting the steam escape. Now that the bag is steam-free, shake out those rock-hard kernels, pop in a good movie, and enjoy. Number 13. Cup lid is a coaster. I'm not sure why this was ever invented. I can't think of a reason why we would ever remove the lid from our drink, let alone need it as a coaster. But yet, many of the strange ridges and rings were designed for just that. The plastic lid on your takeout drink doubles as a coaster, fitting perfectly to the bottom of your cup. If you plan to test this out the next time you have a drink, warning, the lid is most likely dripping wet with sticky soda. So here's the conundrum. Isn't setting a wet lid down on a nice surface counterintuitive? Would we need a coaster for our coaster? Seriously, engineers were paid to design the lid and make custom molding equipment to create this feature. In what setting do we need to remove the lid, risking spillage, to use it as a coaster? If you know, please clue me in.